today we're going to be making this little handbag card. When you open it up, it folds out and there's a little slot there to stick a gift card into. So we're going to be making one of those today. So let's pop that aside and get started. Okay, so first things first, you'll need your Big Shot. So bring your Big Shot over. And what I'm going to be using for the facings of this handbag is the Top Note Bigz die, which is this guy here. That's in our annual catalogue. That's the code right there. So I'm going to build a sandwich on the Big Shot. So cutting pad first, Bigz die next. Now it doesn't matter whether you put it widthways or longways. And then you just take your cardstock, and I'm using Whisper White cardstock for this, and line it up, put your cutting pad on top, and then start feeding it through the Big Shot. So we need to do that twice because we need 2 of these for the handbag. So now we have 2 of the Whisper White handbag facings. We also need to cut some in DSP. So the DSP I'm using is Sweet Sorbet. This is from the Celebration catalogue that ends on the 31st of March. This is one of the items that you can earn for free when you spend $90 or more. Heaps of products available, but only till 31st of March. So have a look at the link that's popping up now. So we need to cut 2 of those. So you should have 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock in the Top Note die, and then 2 pieces of the DSP. Now if you look closely on the Top Note, I hope you can make it out on here, the Top Note die actually punches a little perforation around the edge there. What I'm going to do with the DSP is actually cut along that perforation so that we mat it on top of the white. So let's do that now. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to mat these onto the white cardstock, and I'll just use the 2-way glue, just this one here. So that's done. We can put these aside now. And now we're going to move on to the insert in here. So for the insert, I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Now this is 21.6 by 9.7 centimetres, which is 8.5 inch by 3 13/16. And I'm just going to grab my trimmer, and we're going to score this at 7 centimetres, 10.8, and 14.5 centimetres. Now in inches you're looking at 2 3/4, 4 1/4, and 5 11/16. So I'm just going to move that off to the side now. Now I'm just going to take my little corner rounder punch and just round off these edges. Okay, now on these score lines that we've just done on the trimmer, we're just going to start folding. This first one we're just going to fold in and then fold out and then fold in again. So you should have a little W, basically, a little W that you folded. Okay, so on one side of this we're just going to stamp a little sentiment. So the set I'm using is Bring on the Cake, and I'm using the Happy Birthday stamp. Bring on the Cake is a 2-piece set, so you get 2 cases for the one price. So I'll just use that one there. The ink I'm using is Stays On Black. This stuff is permanent, so you need to clean your stamps as soon as you've used it. and you need to use Stays On Cleaner just on an old rag. Wonderful. Okay. So grab your Stays On Cleaner and just clean that stamp straight away. Otherwise your Stays On will stain the ink, stain the stamp. And just dab it off and then run it through your Stampin' Scrub. Okay. So I've stamped the outline of that, and what I'm going to do now is just colour in the letters. Now the colours I'm using are to match the Sweet Sorbet DSP. So we've got Summer Starfruit, Soft Sky, Crisp Cantaloupe, Pistachio Pudding and Crumb Cake. So we're just going to colour those ones in now. So now we can start to build our handbag. So what we're going to do is start sticking these down. So your handbag card should start to look a bit like this. So what we're going to do now is put this little gift card insert in here. So I've got a piece of paper that is 13.7 by 6 centimeters wide, and that is 5 3/8 by 2 3/8. So we need to score that. So going to score that at 3 centimeters long ways, and that is 1 3/16. And then I'm going to turn it widthways, and we're going to score at 2 centimeters, and then move it across to 11.7 and score again. And that is 13/16 of an inch and 4 5/8 of an inch. So your piece of paper should look like this. You've got a score line in the middle and 2 score lines either side. So what we'll do is just fold along those score lines. Now we don't need 2 of these tabs, so cut 2 of those tabs off. And with these 2 here, I'm actually going to cut in on an angle so that they sit a bit better when we fold this all up. So I've just cut in on an angle, just so that these are hidden a bit more discreetly when we fold it up. So we'll just seal those ones down now. Okay, so that's your little gift card sleeve. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it this way, so when your handbag is opened up, the card is sitting in there. So I'm just going to grab a bit of Tombow and glue that in place. Now we can start to decorate the outside of our handbag card. Okay, so what we need now, this one here I've used a framelit from the Floral Frame set, and I love this little folder. Got it off a website called craftonline.com.au. Very, very handy. It's magnetic too, so the framelits stick to it. So I'm using this framelit here. And you just need a piece of Whisper White cardstock to cut that. So bring the big shot back over. Now to do a framelit sandwich, you use a magnetic platform. These are fantastic because they hold the framelets and edgelets in place so they don't shift around when you're cutting. So you need a cutting pad on the bottom, and then your paper, and you put your framelit on blade side down, and then another cutting pad on top, and then just cut that through your big shot. So we have a nice little flower shape. And what I've done on this one here is I've actually gone around the edges and sponge daubed with Sahara sand, and I've also done it around the edges of the handbag too, so we're going to do that now. So this is Sahara sand. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do now is bring the Stampin' Trimmer back across and just score a line directly in the middle of this flower. So just fold your flower over. What we need for the handle of the handbag is some ribbon. So what I'm going to be using is the crisp cantaloupe ruffled ribbon, which is elasticized, and I'm just going to cut off a small strip about that long. So you're looking at about 6 inches of ribbon. So I've got my piece of ribbon, and we're just going to make on one of these sides 2 little slots to slip the ribbon into. And what you want to do is feed your ribbon through those slots. So once you've threaded it through, you can just stick those little 2 ends down, and I'm just going to use a bit of sticky strip. So there's your little handle. Now you can bring your handbag back over, and you can now glue that down at the back panel. Okay, now on the front we're going to do a flower, a dimensional flower using the pansy punch. So this is the pansy punch here. We're just going to cut 5 of the pansy punch flowers. Once you've cut your flowers, you can then grab the sponge dauber and the Sahara sand ink pad and just sponge daub around the edges on both sides of 4 of these, and the 5th one just do sponge daubing on one side. So now that you've done the sponge daubing, you can now layer your flowers. So starting with the one that we've only sponge daubed on the one side, that's going to be the base. So start interlocking your flowers like that. And just pierce a small hole in the middle. And you'll need a brad. I'm just using the silver mini brads. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to spritz this flower with some water. Now I've used an old smooch spritz container that I've just filled with water, and we're just going to lightly saturate that flower. And just starting with the top, start scrunching it. Okay, so we have our little flower. So you can just bring the handbag back over and stick the flower to the top there. So I'm just going to use some sticky strip So now that we've done that, we can stick a little Velcro dot on the inside there. Now you can pick these up from hardware stores or craft stores. These are just little hook and loop dots. So we need a hook and a piece of the loop. So the handbag card is all done, and now we need to do an envelope to fit this in. So you'll need a piece of paper which is 19.1 by 19.1, and that is 7.5 by 7.5 inches, and you'll need your envelope punch board, and just line it up at score line 8.6, which is 3 3/8. So punch and score the whole way around. And now we can just start folding on those score lines. And there we have it, a handbag card that opens up with gift card insert and envelope. Thank you very much for joining me for this YouTube tutorial.